For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a cold autumn morning in 2005, 33-year-old Elena Kovacs, an alpine photographer, was high on the treacherous Gibraltar Ledges area of Mount Rainier, with her climbing team. After a sudden whiteout forced them to bivouac for the night, she never made it back to safety. Despite an extensive search by mountain rescue, Elena vanished without a trace, her rope team's tail clip found empty in the snow. For 15 agonizing years, her family and climbing partners lived with the gnawing uncertainty of Mount Rainier's unforgiving embrace. Then, in 2020, a remarkable discovery was made. A half-buried four-season tent, frozen solid, reappearing at a crevasse edge after a heat wave. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Elena Kovacs, a mystery preserved in ice for over a decade. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. In the vast, unforgiving expanse of Mount Rainier, where ancient glaciers carve monumental landscapes and weather shifts with brutal unpredictability, a seasoned alpine photographer named Elena Kovacs sought both challenge and inspiration. At 33 years old, Elena was renowned for her adventurous spirit, her camera capturing the raw beauty of extreme environments where few dared to tread. Her skill and tenacity in the high mountains were unquestioned, making her disappearance all the more perplexing. The year was 2005, and Elena, alongside her climbing partner Deshaun Pike and their rope team, was navigating the treacherous Gibraltar Ledges area, a notoriously exposed and technically demanding section of Mount Rainier. Their ascent had been arduous but successful until the mountain asserted its dominance. A sudden, ferocious whiteout descended, engulfing them in a swirling vortex of snow and wind, obliterating all visibility. With no option to continue or descend safely, the group was forced to establish an emergency bivouac, huddling together against the storm's fury, hoping to weather the night. As the first faint light of morning struggled to pierce the persistent whiteout, a chilling realization dawned upon Deshaun Pike. The storm had not abated, but something far more profound had changed within their small, temporary sanctuary. Elena Kovacs was gone. Her sleeping bag lay empty, a stark void in the confined space. The tail clip of their rope team, which should have secured her to the group, hung open, an inanimate testament to her silent departure. There were no shouts, no sounds of struggle, no indication of a fall or an accident. She had simply vanished into the blizzard. A wave of profound shock gave way to an immediate, visceral panic. Deshaun's frantic calls into the swirling snow were swallowed by the wind, yielding no response. The impossible had happened. One of the most capable climbers he knew had disappeared without a trace from a secure bivouac on one of the continent's most formidable peaks. The alarm was raised, shattering the fragile calm of the mountain and setting in motion a desperate search for Elena Kovacs, a search that would soon confront the brutal indifference of Mount Rainier. The alarm, once raised, reverberated across the vast network of Mount Rainier National Park, triggering an immediate and desperate response. Park rangers, seasoned mountaineers, and highly trained rescue teams were swiftly mobilized, their focus singular: to locate Elena Kovacs. The initial hours of the search were frantic, a race against the clock and the mountain's relentless elements. Yet, Mount Rainier proved an immediate and formidable adversary. The whiteout that had enveloped Elena's group persisted, reducing visibility to mere feet and making aerial reconnaissance impossible. On the ground, the treacherous terrain, riddled with hidden crevasses, steep ice falls, and an unpredictable snowpack, transformed every step into a calculated risk for the searchers themselves. Ranger Medic Kira Sato, a veteran of countless high-altitude rescues, was among the first to assess the bivouac site. Her initial evaluation confirmed the impossible. Elena had vanished from a seemingly secure position, leaving no discernible tracks in the freshly fallen snow. Sato understood the logistical nightmare this presented. Coordinating a search in such conditions at that altitude was an exercise in extreme futility without a precise point of last contact or any obvious sign of distress. Teams combed the immediate vicinity, probing the snow with long poles, hoping for the telltale resistance of buried gear or, tragically, a body. Days bled into weeks, each passing moment diminishing the hope of finding Elena alive. Despite exhaustive efforts, no dropped gear, no discarded items, no conventional signs of an accident or struggle ever surfaced. The mountain offered no concessions, no easy answers. Investigators grappled with a baffling lack of evidence. Early theories circulated. Perhaps Elena had succumbed to hypothermia and wandered off in a disoriented state, a common and often fatal outcome in extreme cold. Or had she fallen into a crevasse, her body swallowed instantly by the glacial maw? The vastness of the search area, compounded by the constant threat of avalanches and further whiteouts, made conclusive investigations almost impossible. The initial urgency of the search slowly gave way to a mounting frustration as the unforgiving landscape refused to yield any trace of Elena Kovacs. The mountain held its secrets tight, leaving a void where answers should have been. As weeks turned into months, the relentless search for Elena Kovacs, once a desperate flurry of activity, began its slow, inevitable contraction. Despite the unwavering dedication of park rangers, volunteer rescue teams, and even private mountaineers, the vast, unforgiving expanse of Mount Rainier yielded not a single definitive clue. Every lead had been exhausted, every conceivable crevasse probed, every avalanche debris field meticulously examined. The initial intense ground and aerial surveys, hampered by the mountain's persistent atmospheric assaults, eventually scaled back, giving way to periodic checks and a grim acceptance that the mountain had claimed another secret. The case, once a high-priority emergency, transitioned into an enduring enigma. Elena Kovacs's disappearance became one of Mount Rainier's most perplexing and tragic mysteries, a story whispered among climbers and park personnel alike. For her family and friends, the lack of a body of any tangible evidence meant an agonizing absence of closure. Her climbing partner, Deshaun Pike, carried the heavy burden of being the last person to see her. The memory of that empty tale clipped a constant, tormenting echo. The climbing community, which had celebrated Elena's skill and adventurous spirit, now grappled with the chilling reality that even the most prepared could vanish without a trace. 15 years passed. The files detailing Elena's vanishing, once handled with urgent intensity, gathered dust in park offices. New generations of rangers patrolled the mountain, some only vaguely aware of the cold case. The hope of finding Elena, or even a definitive answer to her fate, diminished with each passing season, each winter snow burying the past deeper, each summer melt offering no revelations. The mountain, an indifferent witness to human endeavors and tragedies, held its silence. For those directly involved, the passage of time did little to erase the haunting questions. Deshaun Pike, though years removed from the incident, remained tethered to that terrifying morning on Gibraltar ledges, forever replaying the moments leading up to Elena's disappearance, searching for a missed sign, a forgotten detail. Ranger medic Kira Sato, whose professional life was defined by bringing people home from the wilderness, carried the weight of Elena's unsolved case as a profound personal and professional frustration. The mountain had won, its secrets seemingly inviolable, leaving a permanent void in the lives of those who had known Elena Kovacs. 15 years had passed since Elena Kovacs vanished into the Mount Rainier whiteout, her case a cold file, a silent testament to the mountain's enduring power. For a decade and a half, the vast ice fields and ancient rock faces had held their secrets, undisturbed by human inquiry, the memory of her disappearance slowly fading into the mountain's long history of lost souls. But the year 2020 brought an unexpected and dramatic shift in the environmental conditions of the Pacific Northwest. An unusual and prolonged heat wave settled over the region, pushing temperatures far above seasonal averages. On Mount Rainier's glaciers, this meant accelerated melt, not just of surface snow, but deep within the ice itself. The immense pressure and lubrication from the meltwater triggered significant serac movement, causing vast blocks of glacial ice to sea, alve and shift with a slow, grinding force, reshaping the very contours of the frozen landscape. It was amidst this unprecedented glacial upheaval that Professor Rainier, a renowned glaciologist from the University of Washington, was conducting routine observations. Professor Haller had dedicated decades to studying the dynamic nature of Mount Rainier's glaciers, understanding their relentless, often imperceptible flow. She knew that glaciers were not static monuments but slow-moving rivers of ice, capable of preserving and then, decades later, revealing objects once swallowed by their depths. The current heat wave, she observed, was particularly aggressive, causing the ice to recede and fracture in ways rarely seen. During one such survey near the Gibraltar Ledges area, a place forever linked to Elena Kovacs's disappearance, Professor Haller's team made an astonishing discovery. There, precariously perched at the very edge of a newly exposed crevasse, half buried in ancient ice and glacial till, was a four-season mountaineering tent. Its vibrant yellow fabric, though faded and torn in places, was unmistakably distinct against the stark white and gray of the glacier. The tent had been trapped within the glacial ice for years, slowly transported down the mountain, only to be dramatically unveiled by the recent serac movement, like an artifact emerging from a frozen tomb. The discovery sent immediate shockwaves through the Park Service and the climbing community. Within hours, park rangers confirmed what many instinctively suspected. The tent was unequivocally identified as belonging to Elena Kovacs. Its model, specific modifications, and even some personal markings matched records from the original 2005 investigation. After 15 years of silence, Mount Rainier had finally spoken. The reappearance of Elena's tent, a tangible piece of her vanished life, instantly reignited the dormant investigation. The case, long considered cold, had just been blown wide open, raising a myriad of new questions and rekindling a flicker of hope that the mountain might at last surrender its frozen secrets. The discovery of Elena Kovacs's tent, precariously balanced on the lip of a melting crevasse, initiated a meticulously planned and delicate recovery operation. Park rangers and specialized rescue personnel, now working under the guidance of forensic experts, understood that the tent was no longer merely lost gear. It was a crucial piece of evidence, potentially a frozen crime scene. Every precaution was taken to preserve its integrity. Glacial conditions, unstable ice, and the tent's fragile state after 15 years of encasement demanded precise execution. Ropes and anchors secured the recovery team, while specialized tools were used to carefully extract the tent without disturbing its contents or compromising any potential forensic material. Once freed from the ice, it was immediately secured in an evidence container, sealed, and transported to a climate-controlled laboratory for detailed examination. The re-engagement of the investigation breathed new life into a case long considered insurmountable. Ranger Medic Kira Sato, whose frustration with the original cold case had lingered for years, was among the first to be brought back into the fold. Her intimate knowledge of the original search parameters and the unforgiving terrain became invaluable. Old files, once relegated to storage, were pulled, cross-referenced, and re-examined in light of this tangible new evidence. The tent itself became the focal point of a meticulous forensic investigation. Experts accustomed to examining crime scenes approached the weathered fabric and its contents with an almost archaeological precision. Inside the tent, despite the passage of time and the harsh environment, several items were still discernible. A small, collapsed sleeping bag, a compact stove, and a few personal effects, including a weather-beaten journal, were carefully documented, photographed, and cataloged. Each item was treated as a potential repository of DNA, fingerprints, or other microscopic clues. Initial findings from the tent's interior offered a glimpse into Alina's last known moments. The journal contained entries detailing the whiteout and the forced bivouac, consistent with Deshaun Pike's account, but offered no hint of any planned departure or distress. The stove, a critical piece of equipment for survival in such conditions, was also recovered. Its fuel C. Anister was empty, a detail noted but not immediately understood. While the tent's appearance provided a concrete link to Alina, it simultaneously deepened the mystery. Its recovery answered where some of her essential gear had been, but it failed to explain why she had left it, or more critically, what had happened to Alina herself. Was the tent abandoned? Was she forced out? Or did she leave it intentionally? The new investigation, now armed with a tangible artifact, was poised to unravel not just the where, but the more perplexing how and why of Alina Kavaks's disappearance. The meticulous forensic examination of Alina Kavaks's recovered tent continued for weeks, each item scrutinized for any overlooked detail. While the journal and personal effects provided context for the bivouac, they offered no immediate answers to her disappearance. It was the compact stove, however, that yielded the first truly anomalous clue. Technicians, analyzing the residues within its burner, detected traces of unusual fuel additives. These were not standard compounds found in typical mountaineering stove fuel. Rather, they were specialized agents designed to enhance performance in extremely cold temperatures, often used in niche industrial or military applications, or by individuals seeking to push the boundaries of extreme cold weather camping. This discovery immediately shifted the focus of the investigation. The presence of such uncommon additives suggested a deliberate, perhaps clandestine, preparation beyond what was typical for an alpine photographer's expedition. Investigators, working with specialized databases and supply chain experts, embarked on the painstaking process of tracing the origin of these specific compounds. The trail was long and complex, but eventually it led to a small, specialized outdoor gear supplier in a remote corner of Washington state. Records indicated a bulk purchase of a fuel blend containing these precise additives, made under an alias, but with a payment method that, when cross-referenced, linked directly to an account held by Alina Kavaks. Further investigation into the payment details and associated addresses uncovered a significant breakthrough. A rental locker in a nondescript storage facility in a distant town, leased under Alina's name, unknown to her family or climbing partners. The existence of this secret locker, maintained for years, immediately raised profound questions about Alina's true intentions. What would a seasoned alpine photographer, known for documenting her expeditions, need to store in secret? With a court order, investigators opened the locker. Inside, among other personal effects, they found a sealed, climate-controlled container filled with dozens of rolls of undeveloped photographic slides. These were Alina's work, but they were unlike any of her publicly known projects. The slides were carefully transported to a professional lab, and under sterile conditions, the development process began. As the images slowly materialized on the light table, a shocking truth began to emerge. The photographs depicted not the grand, open vistas Alina was known for, but a series of highly specific, almost architectural images. Detailed shots of a hidden snow cave, meticulously constructed and camouflaged. And critically, a steep, unmarked descent chute leading away from the Gibraltar Ledges area, expertly photographed from multiple angles, as if for a reconnaissance mission. These were not accidental snapshots. They were a deliberate, calculated photographic record of an escape route, revealing a profound and secretive plan. The images from the developed slides laid bare the profound truth of Elena Kovacs's disappearance. They were not casual snapshots, but a meticulously documented blueprint, revealing that Elena had not vanished accidentally from the bivouac on Gibraltar ledges. Instead, she had deliberately departed, executing a pre-planned, hidden route. The photographs depicted a carefully constructed snow cave, expertly camouflaged against the surrounding terrain, designed to conceal her presence after leaving her rope team. Crucially, the slides also detailed a steep, unmarked descent chute, a treacherous passage known only to a select few, offering a clandestine escape route from the perilous elevation. These images provided irrefutable evidence. Elena had orchestrated her own vanishing act. While the how of her disappearance was now chillingly clear, the more profound, indeed an unsettling question of why remained. Why would Elena Kovacs, an experienced and respected alpine photographer, renowned for her integrity and meticulous planning within a team, undertake such a clandestine and dangerous solo endeavor? Her actions defied conventional mountaineering ethics and risked not only her own life, but also subjected her climbing partners to unimaginable distress and years of unanswered questions. The slides offered no explanation for this extraordinary decision, leaving investigators to grapple with the motivations behind her elaborate deception. For Deshaun Pike, the discovery of the slides and the decoding of Elena's secret plan brought a complex and unsettling form of closure. For 15 years, he had carried the heavy burden of believing his partner had been lost to the mountain's unpredictable fury, a victim of an unforeseen accident. Now, that painful narrative was replaced by a bewildering new reality. Elena had chosen to leave. This revelation undoubtedly brought an end to the agonizing uncertainty, yet it likely introduced a new layer of questions, perhaps even a sense of betrayal, reshaping his understanding of their shared past and Elena's character. Elena Kovacs's legacy transformed from that of a tragic victim of Mount Rainier to that of a complex individual who orchestrated her own disappearance. Her lost tent, the mysterious rental locker, the unusual fuel additives, and ultimately the undeveloped slides were not merely a trail of forgotten possessions. They were a deliberate, albeit delayed, message, a breadcrumb trail that only the relentless forces of nature and the passage of time could reveal. Her story transcended a simple mountaineering accident, evolving into a narrative of profound secrecy and calculated risk. Mount Rainier, immutable and silent, continued to hold its counsel. The mountain, a formidable witness to countless human ambitions and tragedies, had finally surrendered one of its frozen secrets, but it remained a vast, enigmatic entity. Elena Kovacs's resolved disappearance served as a stark reminder of the wilderness's enduring power, its capacity to both inspire and consume, leaving behind stories that echo through the years, some mysteries forever buried beneath its ancient ice.